The ballroom glittered with the kind of wealth that made people forget how to breathe: crystal chandeliers, a golden staircase, and a symphony playing softly as donors clinked their champagne glasses. Cameras flashed every few seconds, broadcasting the billionaire Ethan Cole's charity gala across half the globe. It should have been his proudest night. Tens of millions raised for children's hospitals, his legacy as a generous tycoon on display. But instead, everything slowed, froze, crashed. Vanessa Cole, his wife, stood at the center of the marble stage, the spotlight turning her into a goddess of cruelty. Her sequined red dress hugged the figure she was always obsessed with maintaining, even if she sneered at Ethan's struggles with weight. The microphone trembled slightly in her hand, not from fear, but from the thrill of what she was about to do. "You rich fat fool," she screamed, her voice slicing through music and joy like a serrated blade. The room gasped. Glasses stopped midair. Ethan felt his chest lock, a familiar childhood pain rising, being the bullied fat kid who tried to laugh it off but cried in bathrooms. He blinked, heart pounding in humiliation. "I'm no longer interested in you," Vanessa continued, and cameras surged forward like vultures scenting blood. "I want a real man. A young man with six-packs who can handle me." She threw the microphone like she was throwing away a marriage. A tall, shirt half-unbuttoned man swaggered from the edge of the crowd, Cade. Ethan recognized him, a gym instructor, always flirting, always smirking whenever Ethan visited with her. Cade wrapped a muscular arm around Vanessa's waist and, without hesitation, pressed his lips to hers in the cruel center of Ethan's creation, a charity event built from his heart. Flashbulbs attacked them like fireworks. People whispered in shock, some gleeful, some mortified. Every phone streamed the scandal live. The billionaire the world admired now stood as the global symbol of rejected, unwanted men. Ethan's throat tightened, the old insecurity roaring back. He remembered his mother's voice from years ago. "One day your heart will make people see your worth beyond a scale." But right now the world only saw his size, his weakness, his hurt. Still he did not collapse. He didn't rage. He didn't beg. He looked straight at Vanessa, and his eyes, dark, calm, unreadable, sent a chill down her spine she didn't expect. "I hope he can afford you," Ethan said quietly. The sentence was soft, yet the whole room felt it snap like a trap being sprung. His smirk, barely noticeable, was the only clue that Vanessa might have just destroyed herself instead of him. Something in that look hinted he knew far more than anyone else there. Vanessa blinked, a flicker of confusion breaking through her performance. Cade squeezed her hip possessively, whispering something that made her laugh loudly again, re-entering her role as the victorious woman. But Ethan turned and walked away before the laughter could pierce him deeper. No shaking hands. No tears. Just a silent promise radiating from his shoulders. This humiliation wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something she never imagined. Ethan walked out of the ballroom as calmly as a man leaving a boring conference call rather than a marriage exploding on international livestream. But inside, a storm raged where a heart used to feel safe. Paparazzi followed at a distance, too afraid to approach the freshly humiliated billionaire who showed no emotion. His security formed a wall around him, but he felt utterly exposed anyway. Vanessa's voice still echoed in the cavern of his mind. "Rich fat fool, no longer interested, six-packs." Years of mocking disguised as jokes, of comparing him to fitness models on magazines, suddenly they all clicked into a single truth. She had been ashamed of him long before this public reveal. And yet, he had once believed she truly loved him. Inside the ballroom, Vanessa soaked up attention like sunlight. People crowded around her, some pretending to comfort her, others recording for gossip channels. Cade grinned, loving the fame, his hungry eyes scanning for the nearest camera to flex for. Vanessa leaned into him dramatically, but there was a flicker of something else there too. Doubt. Because Ethan had not reacted like a man losing everything. He had walked away like a man who had already won. Her pulse quickened. Did Ethan know something? Was he planning something? Or was he finally broken? She glanced at the cameras and forced herself to laugh again, clinging to the narrative that made her feel powerful. Meanwhile, Ethan reached his private elevator. As the doors closed, his stoic face finally cracked. Not in despair but in restraint. His fists clenched so tight his knuckles went white. He pressed his back against the mirror, breathing hard. Years, decades, of wounds reopened, and with them came something else that had been buried: fury. Flashback: little Ethan, 10 years old, chubby, crying behind the school gym. 3 boys chanting, "Fatty Ethan, future meatball millionaire." He had tried to laugh with them, to fit in by letting them mock him. But when they pushed him down and filmed him crying, something in him died. His father had grabbed the phone from the bully the next day and smashed it into pieces. Then he knelt down, gripping Ethan's shoulders. "You may lose battles, son," he said, "but never show the world when you bleed." Tonight Ethan remembered that. The elevator opened to his penthouse suite above the gala. He walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows. The whole city glittered beneath him, unaware of the man whose whole world had just shifted. He slipped off his bow tie with precise calm, like removing a disguise. On the glass reflection he caught a glimpse of himself, broad shoulders hidden by fat, but underneath, strength. He wasn't weak, just unsharpened. Behind him his phone buzzed non-stop, news alerts, betrayal headlines, memes already forming. One message stood out. From Daniel Reyes, former military commander turned elite transformation coach. "Is this the moment, sir?" Ethan stared at the message. Slowly a new fire spread inside him. Yes, was the moment. He typed back. "Tomorrow, 6 a.m. No mercy." A single tear slid down his cheek, but not from heartbreak. From rebirth. Downstairs, Vanessa laughed louder, craving validation. But a seed of fear began to root in her chest as she replayed Ethan's smirk. He knew something she didn't, and that was far more dangerous than a broken man. Morning sunlight did not bring healing, only headlines. Vanessa woke up to the glow of her phone screen, buzzing relentlessly beneath her pillow. She grinned sleepily, imagining messages of support, praise, and admirers calling her brave for choosing passion over comfort. But when she unlocked the screen, her smile slowly cracked. The top trending post wasn't her triumphant speech. It was a slowed-motion replay of Ethan's last words. "I hope he can afford you. #Cole Billionaire. #Ethan Cole did not beg. #who really won." The internet wasn't mocking Ethan, they were admiring him. Comment after comment called him stoic, classy, unbothered. Viewers were calling Vanessa superficial, shallow, gold-digging. Her fingers trembled. The world was not supposed to take his side. She threw the phone onto the silk sheets and stormed into the kitchen, where Cade sat shirtless, drinking orange juice like he had already moved in. He barely looked up when she huffed and tossed her hair. "They're not getting the message," she complained sharply. "They think Ethan looks strong. He should be crying in a corner. Humiliated." Cade smirked, wiping juice from his lips. "Relax, babe. Once we file the divorce publicly, everyone will know you chose the upgrade." She forced a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Yes, divorce. That would make everything official. Final. Cruel enough to show Ethan he meant nothing." Later that day, Vanessa stood in front of dozens of reporters, perfectly styled, dramatic tears painted under her eyes. She held divorce papers high like a prize. "Ethan Cole can keep his money," she declared proudly. "I'm choosing love. Passion. A real man." Cameras flickered. Microphones pushed toward her. People recorded every word. But the viral audience watching noticed something she didn't. The giant reflective tower window behind her, showing Ethan inside the building behind glass, working out with a trainer. Sweat. Focus. Determination. Like a sleeping beast finally awake. A gym bag embroidered with D. Reyes sat beside him. The internet exploded. Wait, is Ethan training? Plot twist incoming. Six-pack billionaire arc loading. Vanessa didn't know any of that. She was too busy playing the role of the victorious ex-wife. Reporters showered her with attention, but she caught a glimpse of unfamiliar faces in the crowd, people recording with nearly wicked curiosity. Something shifted in the air. The applause sounded mocking. But she pushed the doubt down. Art. As she turned away from the flashing cameras, her lawyer approached, brisk and businesslike. "We'll begin negotiations tomorrow," he said. "We need to review the prenup documents in full before." She cut him off with a laugh. "Please. I barely read that thing. I'm sure Ethan won't put up a fight. He knows he can't keep me." Her lawyer hesitated, just 1 second, but in that second the audience watching livestream caught his tiny wince. A tremor of foreboding ran through the chat. "Oh no, she didn't read the prenup. She doesn't know. This is gonna be good." Vanessa strutted to her limousine head high. But inside, as the door closed and silence pressed against the windows, her hands shook. The comments she glimpsed online replayed in her mind. Why wasn't the world laughing with her? Why were they watching Ethan instead? And why did a single sentence from last night echo louder with every breath? "I hope he can afford you." The air grew colder. Vanessa hugged her arms around herself, pretending it was only the AC. But deep inside, An unease she couldn't name began to bloom, one that whispered a terrifying possibility. Ethan was not broken. He was PR. Later that night, Vanessa sat on the velvet sofa in her luxury townhouse, the one Ethan bought for her because she said living in the penthouse felt like being trapped with disappointment. She poured herself a glass of expensive wine, rehearsing in her head how viral she would be after the divorce went through. Cade walked in from the bedroom, towel slung low around his waist, muscles flexing like he was performing for an invisible audience. He looked in the mirror more than he ever looked at her. That had once been sexy to her, now it felt unsettling. "You need to make him pay," Cade muttered as he ran his hand through his hair. "Go for the big assets. The mansion. The yacht. The cars. The investments." "He'll hand it over," Vanessa insisted, though her voice wavered. "He always gave me everything." That much was true. Ethan had spoiled her beyond standard billionaire levels. Private jet trips to Paris just because she was bored, diamond cascades that covered her arms, luxury bags stacked unopened in their wardrobes. Yet she had complained about him every step of the way. Cade sat beside her, his tone subtly sharpening. "You think I'm gonna let you walk away without securing us? I'm not here to live small. I want that mansion." His fingers dug into her chin, forcing her to look at him. His eyes were cold, calculating, and suddenly Vanessa saw something she had ignored: hunger. Not for her. For money. Flashback. Before Ethan, Vanessa standing backstage at a fitness modeling contest, watching her then-boyfriend kiss another woman in the hallway. He had said she wasn't enough. Not toned enough. Not hot enough. She vowed that day she'd never be powerless again, she'd marry status itself. And Ethan? Ethan was the easiest man to manipulate, lonely, soft-hearted, easy to impress with affection. She thought she had chosen the perfect life upgrade by leaving him for a younger version of that boyfriend, stronger, hotter. But now, Cade's grip tightened. "Don't screw this up for us." Fear flickered behind Vanessa's eyes. "Fine," she muttered, freeing herself with a shaky laugh. "We'll take him for everything." But Cade wasn't smiling anymore. He was scrolling Ethan's wealth stats online, eyes wide with greed growing uglier by the second. Vanessa sipped her wine, trying to regain control of the story forming around her. She imagined the applause she'd receive once she won the assets. She imagined news outlets calling her the woman who defied a billionaire. Yet as the minutes stretched, her stomach twisted. The comments online. Ethan's calm, the lawyer's wince, that smirk before he walked away. Everything suddenly felt like the first step into a trap she had built for herself. Cade tapped her leg impatiently. "Call the lawyer." She did. On speaker. The lawyer's voice was unusually crisp. "Vanessa, before tomorrow's meeting, I truly advise you to read the prenup. Every page." She rolled her eyes dramatically. "It's a prenup. He won't fight me." A long pause. Then a sentence that made her blood run cold. "You don't understand. Ethan Cole insisted on a very specific clause. One that triggers if a spouse publicly humiliates him." Cade sat up straight. Vanessa's heart slammed into her ribs. The wine glass slipped from her hand and shattered across the marble floor. The lawyer continued, his voice almost sympathetic. "If that clause is activated, you walk away with nothing." Vanessa's lips parted, breath frozen. Cade's fists clenched, and not in comfort. No applause. No victory. Just silence. And the first undeniable fear that she wasn't the predator in this story. She was the prey. The next morning, Vanessa sat stiffly in the law office boardroom, her designer heels tapping an uneven rhythm against polished marble. Her lawyer sat beside her, flipping through the thick prenup agreement that suddenly felt like a death warrant disguised in legal language. Across the table, Ethan's legal team entered, calm, silent, precise. They didn't even acknowledge her nervous posture. Ethan arrived last. Slimmer suit. Shoulders broader. A small towel around his neck from a morning workout he hadn't bothered to shower off yet. He looked like discipline incarnate. His stare didn't land on Vanessa, not once. That indifference ate at her pride worse than hatred ever could. Her tongue darted across her dry lips. "Ethan, baby, we don't have to make this ugly." He finally glanced her way. "You already did." Vanessa's stomach plunged. His lawyer opened a tabbed folder and slid a single sheet across the table toward her. The headline, bold and merciless. Breach of dignity and public humiliation clause. Triggered by public slander. Infidelity confirmed by video evidence. Intent to cause reputational harm. Penalty. Full forfeiture of marital claims. A reimbursement of reputational damage costs. A mandatory alimony reversed in Ethan's favor. Vanessa's mouth fell open. Her voice shook. This is insane. Why would I sign something like this? Flashback. Ethan on one knee, offering her not just a ring but unconditional love. Vanessa hadn't cared about the documents back then. She only cared that the ring's shine made her feel powerful. The lawyer had tried to explain sections, but Ethan had taken her hands gently. It's just formality. We'll be together forever, right? She had smiled, and signed without reading. The lawyers continued, unemotional. We are also prepared to sue Mr. Cade Williams for defamation and financial manipulation. Cade? She whispered, turning to him like he would protect her. But Cade was glaring at her, furious, like she had lied to him instead of the other way around. You told me you'd get the mansion, he hissed under his breath. Ethan watched them with chilling calm as if studying insects fight for crumbs. Vanessa slammed her hands on the table. You can't do this to me. Ethan leaned forward slowly, his voice molten steel. You publicly told the world I wasn't enough. That I could never satisfy you. That you were upgrading. Her chest heaved. The humiliation replayed in her mind like a nightmare she broadcast herself. But, she stuttered, you still love me. Ethan's expression didn't soften, it hardened. Love is not a leash. And you stopped seeing me as a man a long time ago. Something inside her cracked, because for the first time she saw Ethan clearly. A man who had given everything, and received only contempt. Ethan signed the document. The sound of the pen dragging felt like a guillotine dropping. Vanessa's lawyer turned to her with a whisper that sounded like defeat. If you go through with this, you will leave with exactly what you came in with. Her breath stilled. Nothing. Cade stood up abruptly. I'm not going down with you. He stormed out, abandoning her without a backward glance. The door slammed. Vanessa turned back to Ethan, panic clawing up her throat. Please, don't do this. I can change. He met her eyes one final time. No. You made your choice. Publicly. And in the coldest twist of all, he walked away. Standing in the ruins she created, Vanessa finally realized. Ethan hadn't lost her. She had lost him. And the world was watching. When Vanessa stumbled out of the law office, the sky felt too bright, too honest. She shoved on her sunglasses though tears blurred everything anyway. Paparazzi moved like wolves catching blood scent, shutters clicking, voices shouting. Vanessa. Why did the billionaire's lawyer walk out smiling? Is it true you're getting nothing from the divorce? Her lawyer tried to shield her, but the journalist surged closer. Vanessa snapped. Move, she screamed, her voice cracking louder than microphones could handle. She shoved her way to her car, slamming the door before the world could record more of her unraveling. Her driver hesitated to speak. It was rare to see the glamorous Vanessa Cole look so human. The engine hummed as the city rushed past the windows, but she didn't see skyscrapers or streets. She saw Ethan walking away. Not once had he looked back. Not once had he hesitated. And that cut deeper than the prenup ever could. At home, silence swallowed her whole. Cade's gym bag was gone. His loyalty as shallow as his smirk. His toothbrush missing. His cologne no longer lingering. He had vanished faster than the applause she'd once taken for granted. Vanessa threw her purse against the wall, jewels scattering across the floor like broken promises. She paced the room, muttering to herself, gripping the edges of her dress so tightly her knuckles turned white. Stupid. 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 She had traded a man who worshipped her for a man who used her. And now she had neither. Her trembling hands reached for her phone, autopilot guiding her to open Instagram Live, where her power used to live. She clicked Start Broadcast. The viewer count skyrocketed instantly, people eager to witness more drama. Vanessa wiped her tears and tried to slip on that confident smile she had mastered, but tonight, it felt like a cracked mask. Everyone, she began, voice shaking, Ethan has been abusing me emotionally for years. I left because I needed to choose myself. Comment bubbles flooded the screen. Is that true? Where's your proof? Girl, we saw the videos. You humiliated him. What about the younger guy? Don't lie, Vanessa. Her heart skipped. This wasn't sympathy. This was interrogation. She forced a sob, one she hoped would trigger pity. Please just understand. Bing. A viewer shared a clip. Ethan in the background, reflection of her divorce speech. Lifting weights with deadly focus. Training like vengeance was his fuel. Comments exploded. Why are you attacking a man who's improving? He deserves better. This isn't aging well for you. Justice for Ethan. Hashtag Team Ethan. Her throat tightened. The tears wouldn't stop now. She ended the live stream abruptly. The silence returned louder. Desperation clawed at her. She grabbed her phone and dialed Ethan's number. Once her lifeline, now a forbidden door. Rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. He answered. But didn't speak. Vanessa broke. Ethan, please. I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. I made a mistake. I still love why. His voice cold and final. There will be no more calls. Let me heal. Click. The disconnect tone echoed like a verdict. Vanessa slid down the wall, sobbing so violently the chandelier above seemed to tremble in pity. For the first time she realized something devastating. She had never wounded Ethan by calling him fat. She had wounded herself by calling him unworthy. And now, she would live long enough to witness him become the very man she always wanted. Just with somebody else. Ethan stood in the gym long before sunrise. The lights switched on overhead, humming like a battlefield awakening. This wasn't one of those pristine luxury gyms full of gossip and selfies. This was a warehouse built for warriors, sweat soaked into the concrete, iron clanging like thunder, air tasting of steel and grit. Daniel Reyes, broad, scar-carved, the kind of man who had stared down death and laughed, stepped into Ethan's line of sight. The former military commander wasn't here to comfort him. He was here to rebuild him, piece by painful piece. You sure you're ready? Reyes asked, voice gravel and authority. Ethan nodded once. Break me if you have to. Just don't let me stay who I was. Those words, sharp with determination, pleased Reyes. The coach tossed a weighted vest onto Ethan's chest without warning. The impact knocked the air from him, sending him stumbling back. Lesson 1, Reyes growled. Life will hit harder than anyone else. Cry later. Move now. The vest felt like a mountain tightening around Ethan's ribs. He dropped to his knees, gasping. Sweat formed instantly. Flashback. 14-year-old Ethan, locked in a locker room while voices taunted him through the door. You'll never look good. You'll always be the fat friend. He had laughed then, pretending it didn't hurt. But he never forgot. Today he wouldn't laugh it off. He would conquer it. Reyes yanked him up by the vest straps. Walk. 1 foot. Then the next. Ethan obeyed, breath ragged. Pain stabbed with each movement, but pain was proof he was changing. He forced his legs forward, step, 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 his heart pounding like war drums. Push-ups, sit-ups, sled pulls, rope climbs. No rest. No mercy. You trained the world to treat you like you were soft. Reyes barked as Ethan collapsed during burpees. Now train the world to fear losing you. Ethan's face burned red, lungs screaming. He tasted salt, sweat or tears he couldn't tell. But he refused to fall apart. Flashback. Vanessa laughing with friends when she thought he couldn't hear. He snores so loud the bed shakes. He can't even run without gasping. So embarrassing. Ethan clenched his fists, a slow, rising fire in his chest. Reyes slammed a boxing pad into his hands. Hit it. Ethan threw a sloppy punch. Then another. Reyes swatted them aside like flies. Again. This time with the reason you're here. Ethan inhaled, chest expanding, not with shame but with something sharper. His fist connected, thud. A sound like truth being spoken. Reyes smirked. There he is. Punch after punch, he released every humiliation he had buried. He's lucky I settled for him. He should be grateful I let him sleep with me. You're not good enough, Ethan. Thud. 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 Anger turned into strength. Strength turned into control. Control turned into transformation. Hours later, drenched in sweat, Ethan collapsed, but this time from accomplishment. Reyes tossed him a small metal tag. Dog tags. Ethan turned it over. His father's name engraved beside his. A promise he once made. One day you'll show them who you are. Reyes clapped a heavy hand to his shoulder. You're not getting a revenge body for her. You're building a life for you. For the first time in years, Ethan smiled. Downstairs, Vanessa refreshed her feed again and again, desperate for likes, for attention, while Ethan was earning something far more powerful. Self-respect. He would rise. And Vanessa would watch every agonizing second. The following morning, the sun rose without asking permission from anyone's misery. Vanessa woke to an empty mansion, her throat raw from crying, her pillow still damp. The silence mocked her, expensive, towering, and hollow. Her phone buzzed relentlessly. Notifications. Mentions. Texts. She clung to them like lifelines even though every ping felt like a bullet. Vanessa opened her socials. Hundreds of new comments on the live stream she regretted posting. Not a single one supportive. Memes of her crying face splattered across the internet. Clips of her emotional accusations were already stitched side by side with footage of Ethan training, lifting weights with lethal purpose, sprinting like a man outrunning his past. Comments poured over her screen in a cruel waterfall. He glowed up, she burned out. She treated him like a joke, now she's the punchline. Vanessa Cole cancelled? Took long enough. Her hand shook so violently she dropped the phone. It bounced against the marble floor, a sound too familiar to her life, luxury breaking. She stumbled into the bathroom. Harsh lighting exposed every flaw she'd spent years ignoring. The faintest wrinkle under her eyes. Slight puffiness from the crying. Imperfection, her biggest fear. She stared into her reflection. What do they see when they look at me? What do I see? Vanessa splashed cold water on her face, grabbed concealer with frantic hands. If she could just pull herself together, maybe the world would too. But her manager's voice suddenly blasted into the room through speakerphone. She must have answered without noticing. Tell me you're not posting anything else today. Vanessa swallowed, mascara wand trembling mid-air. I need to explain myself. No, the manager's tone sliced firm and unforgiving. You're not trending for good reasons. Brands are already emailing me, canceling partnerships. Vanessa's knees weakened. Canceling? But I'm Vanessa Cole. You were. A pause heavy enough to crush her heartbeat. Find a way to clean this up. Fast. Or you won't have a platform left to stand on. The line went dead. Her phone chimed again, this time a direct message request. At Ethan Cole Transformation. I don't hate you. I just don't know who you are anymore. Her chest tightened. Was this really him? The account already had thousands of followers. His journey going viral without him even trying. His picture didn't match the Ethan she remembered. Shoulders broader. Jaw sharper. Eyes clearer. She zoomed in, fingers trembling. He looked like a man who had outgrown pain. He looked like someone she no longer deserved. Vanessa's pride flared, the only armor she had left. She typed a reply. You think you can be better than me? Don't forget who made you. Her finger hovered over send. She didn't send it. Instead, she collapsed against the vanity, breathing in shallow bursts, panic threatening to consume her. Memories flickered rapid fire. The fame she once held like a throne, the nights Ethan begged for affection she withheld, the smug certainty she would always be the one in control. Now the world loved him for surviving her. And hated her for making him survive. A soft knock echoed from downstairs. Vanessa froze. No one visited without an appointment. She moved cautiously down the staircase, each step amplifying the dread tightening around her ribs. When she opened the front door, a delivery man handed her a white envelope. No words. Just a pitying look and he left. Vanessa shut the door, staring at the envelope as if it were radioactive. Slowly she tore it open. Inside, one sentence printed in bold legal font. Final divorce hearing, 7 days. Full settlement conditions enforced. No money. No alimony. No safety net. Her empire was bleeding out. And Ethan? He wasn't just healing. He was rising. The gym smelled of iron and thunder, sweat hitting the floor like rain in a battle zone. Ethan trained with a focus that scared even the weights. Every drop of effort slammed against all the years he'd spent trying to shrink himself to fit inside someone else's acceptance. Daniel circled him like a sculptor studying unshaped marble. Again, he commanded. Ethan dropped into burpees, body snapping up and down with the rhythm of war drums. Muscles strained, veins surfaced, breaths came sharp, but he didn't stop. He wouldn't. Not while the world watched him transform from a meme to a message. Flashbulbs popped through the windows, paparazzi camped outside now, desperate to capture the revenge body of the century. He ignored them, but Daniel didn't. You're going to need to decide soon, Daniel said. What's this for? Muscles can't hold bitterness forever. Ethan paused mid-set, chest heaving. It's not about bitterness. Daniel raised a brow. It's about independence, Ethan continued. For the first time in my life, I'm doing something that isn't for approval. Daniel nodded slowly. Good. Because the strongest men aren't built from revenge, they're built from resurrection. Ethan smirked faintly. Then consider me risen halfway. Daniel clapped once. Let's make it the full distance. They moved to boxing pads next. Ethan's punches were loaded years before they were thrown. Wow. Vanessa laughing at his body. Wow. Her calling him a rich fat fool. Wow. That live stream humiliation. Wow. Those men at the gym staring at her like she was already his replacement. He hit harder. Daniel braced against the force. Save some power for the ring. Ethan hesitated. Ring? Daniel gave him a look. You didn't think I brought in the best nutritionist, the best trainers, and the best PR guy just for a cute Instagram reveal, did you? Ethan wiped sweat with a towel. What are you saying? You're ready to step into the world. Not as Vanessa's husband. Not as a billionaire hiding behind boardrooms. As a man who rebuilt himself. Daniel handed him a flyer, an invitation printed with stylized flames. Charity boxing event. 1 month. Millions watching. Ethan stared at the names on the participant roster. Military-trained celebrities. Athletes. One very familiar name. Kate Steele. The punch he threw next didn't hit a pad, it hit realization. Daniel stepped closer. Life gives us the chance to fight our demons. When it does, you'd better have hands. Ethan's pulse kicked up. Not fear. Not anger. Purpose. Before he could speak, someone burst into the training hall. Security's voice cut the air sharp. Sir, your CFO called. It's urgent. The media's running with a new headline. A tablet was shoved toward him. Vanessa Cole suffers breakdown. Ethan ruined my life. The article showed a leaked video of Vanessa crying hysterically at her mansion door, screaming accusations at no one visible. Daniel looked to Ethan. You okay? Ethan stared at the screen a long moment, then clicked it off. No one ruined her life, he said quietly, grabbing the boxing gloves again. She just never built one of her own. He turned back toward the ring. Training wasn't just exercise anymore. It was destiny tightening its gloves. Night in the city felt colder when you no longer belonged to its spotlight. Vanessa sat on the edge of her massive bed, alone in a mansion that had never felt bigger or emptier. Every shadow felt like a comet. Every silence felt like judgment. She clutched the divorce notice in her shaking hand. It crinkled under her tightening grip. How dare he leave me? How dare he move on? How dare he not need me? She tried to push away the bitter truth that kept creeping into her mind like a whisper she didn't want to hear. He was becoming more valuable without her. A notification pinged from her laptop. A new headline exploded across the screen. Ethan Cole announces first ever public appearance. Training for charity boxing match. Vanessa clicked the article, heartbeat pounding. Photos of Ethan training, chiseled shoulders, jawline sharp, confidence radiating. The comments section celebrated him like a hero rising from ashes she set on fire. Her stomach sank when she scrolled further and saw. Opponent, Kate Steele. Her heart stuttered. She gasped, hand flying to her mouth. This wasn't transformation. This was a showdown. Her past and her present were about to collide, and the world would watch. Suddenly the doorbell chimed loud enough to make her jump. Vanessa hurried downstairs, throwing on a silk robe. She checked the peephole. Kate. With a gym bag slung over his shoulder and arrogance dripping off him like cologne. She opened the door slightly, voice fragile but trying to sound strong. Kate, what are you doing here? He pushed inside without permission, his confidence too big for the doorway. Your mansion looked lonely. Vanessa flinched. You can't just show up. Relax, he said, tossing his bag on her marble table like he owned it. I'm here to rescue us. Rescue. The word tasted bitter. He smirked. The charity match? Baby, this is our comeback. I beat your billionaire ex in front of millions, and you walk into the ring afterward and show the world who you really chose. Vanessa's spine stiffened. You think humiliating Ethan will fix anything? The internet already hates me. Oh, they hate him too, Kate laughed. They just don't know it yet. He's a fraud trying to rebrand. Vanessa's glare sharpened. Do you care about me at all? Silence. Just a smirk. And in that still moment she finally noticed the truth she had ignored. His eyes weren't looking at her. They were scanning the room, at luxury. Status. What he wanted wasn't love. It was access. Same mistake. Different packaging. A crack rippled through her chest. Kate stepped closer, fingers brushing her chin. Stick with me and you'll win back everything. Vanessa stepped back, voice shaking. And if he beats you? Kate scoffed. Billionaires don't beat fighters. She whispered, he's not the same man anymore. He chuckled coldly. No. He's a man who's about to learn who you really belong to. A chill swept through her. Belong? She wasn't property. Not anymore. Vanessa pointed at the door. Leave. Kate stared, shocked she still had a spine at all. You're making a mistake, he warned. When he loses, don't come crawling back. I won't, she whispered. To either of you. He left with a slam that echoed through the walls like thunder. As soon as he was gone, Vanessa collapsed against the door, sliding down until she hit the floor. Her breath hitched, fast, terrified. For the first time in years, she realized she had never chosen herself. The divorce countdown ticked like a bomb. The fight date loomed like Judgment Day. And she didn't know what terrified her more: losing Ethan forever, or realizing she already had. Three days before the charity match, Ethan stepped onto the rooftop of his skyscraper, the city lights flashing below like a living constellation. The wind whipped against his new, sharper physique, his suit tailored now, fitting his body like confidence woven into fabric. Daniel joined him, tablet in hand, displaying media predictions. "Public polls say you're the underdog," Daniel reported. Ethan smirked lightly. "Good. Then victory will taste honest." Daniel studied him a moment. "You ready for this?" Ethan didn't answer right away. His gaze drifted over the skyline, toward a future no longer shaped by someone else's expectation. His jaw tightened, not in fear but resolve. "I've been fighting all my life," he said. "This time I fight standing up." Daniel nodded with a satisfied grunt. "Then let's finish preparing the legend." He left Ethan alone with the sky. A soft vibration buzzed in Ethan's pocket. He checked his phone. Vanessa again. Message request. "Vanessa, we need to talk." "Vanessa, please." "Vanessa, I'm sorry." His thumb hovered over the screen, but he locked the phone instead. This wasn't the moment for ghosts. Meanwhile, across the city, Vanessa sat in the backseat of a rideshare, hoodie up, sunglasses low, trying to hide from the world that once photographed her every step like a queen. Now they did it like a scandal. She stared down at the plain envelope in her lap, final divorce hearing details, and her stomach twisted. She didn't know what she wanted anymore. To go back? To move forward? To take back control? Or simply to breathe again? She didn't even tell the driver the destination. She just whispered, "Drive anywhere." So he did. As the car passed Ethan's tower, her eyes lifted and caught a glimpse of him, just a silhouette against the sky, hair moving in the wind. But she knew that posture. Unbreakable. Unreachable. She whispered to herself, "Who would have thought you'd become the one I wasn't enough for?" Tears filled her eyes faster than she could blink them away. Inside the penthouse gym below, Ethan resumed final drills, hands taped, gloves ready, heart steady. Cameras live-streamed part of his training now. Fans spammed comments, cheering for his rise, counting down days like seconds. Daniel pulled him aside again, speaking lower this time. "I got the final match card list." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "There's a special ring announcer." Daniel paused. "Charity event like the PR angle." "Who?" Ethan asked. Daniel hesitated. Then, "Vanessa." Ethan froze. Breath. Posture. World, suddenly heavier. "She wants to reclaim her image," Daniel added. "Organizers think it'll drive numbers through the roof." Ethan remained silent long enough for Daniel to realize this wasn't just news. It was a test. "Say the word and I'll get her removed," Daniel offered. Ethan inhaled slowly, deeply. When he finally spoke, his voice carried thunder and restraint. "No. Let her see what she threw away." Daniel nodded with newfound respect. This wasn't revenge. This was closure waiting in the open. Ethan stepped back into stance, every punch now a declaration. He would not shrink for anyone. Ever again. On the rooftop, the wind shifted direction, like the city itself was leaning in to watch what happened next. Because in 2 days, love, betrayal, strength, regret, would all climb into the same ring. And only one would walk out undefeated. The arena roared like a living beast, lights blazing, cameras capturing every heartbeat. Billionaire tycoons, celebrities, and millions watching live. A night built for legends and reckonings. Ethan entered the venue through a private tunnel, gloves laced, robe draped over his newly carved shoulders. His transformation wasn't just physical. He moved like a man who had finally learned his worth. Chants thundered around him. Cole, Cole, Cole. He never imagined a crowd would chant his name, not because of wealth, but because of who he'd become. Daniel tapped his gloves gently. Control. Precision. Purpose. You're not fighting for anything anymore. You're fighting because you can. Ethan nodded. Then he saw her. Vanessa. Standing center ring in a dazzling silver dress, mic in hand, hair curled to perfection, makeup flawless, but her eyes, red around the edges. Regret lived there like a shadow. The crowd booed when she stepped up to speak. Her voice trembled, but she forced a smile. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Charity Champion Match of the Year," she announced Kate first. The fighter stormed down the aisle, muscles flexed, ego blazing. He blew Vanessa a kiss. She flinched. Then she announced Ethan. Her voice cracked slightly. "Ethan Cole." Spotlights exploded. Ethan stepped into the ring, towering, hardened, reborn. Vanessa's eyes locked onto him, shock widening them. He wasn't just improved. He was unstoppable. Cade spat on the mat. "Once a loser, always a loser," he taunted. "I'll make sure she remembers who the real man is." Ethan's jaw ticked. That line aged badly. The bell rang. Cade lunged first, wild, reckless. Ethan blocked the hits cleanly, footwork sharp. The crowd gasped, not expecting grace from the man they once mocked. Daniel's voice cut through the noise. "Make him doubt." Ethan struck. Precision jabs, controlled power. Cade stumbled, eyes widening. This wasn't the billionaire pushover he expected. Rage twisted Cade's face. "You think muscles make you somebody?" he snarled. "No," Ethan answered, slipping a punch, countering with a brutal hook. "Respect does." Cade fell to a knee. The arena exploded with cheers. Vanessa's hand flew to her mouth. She was crying again, but this time it wasn't for herself. She whispered, voice shaking. "You were always enough. I just wasn't." Round after round, Ethan dominated, not with anger, with mastery. Every punch was truth delivered to a man who had treated Vanessa the way she once treated Ethan. Disposable. Final round. Cade swinging wild. Ethan ducked, pivoted. One clean cross. Cade hit the canvas. Out cold. The ref signaled victory. The crowd erupted. Daniel lifted Ethan's arm into the air. Triumph made flesh. And Vanessa. She stepped toward him, trembling, tears streaming like confessions. "Ethan, please just wait," she whispered. I'm proud of you. I'm sorry. I never knew how much you." Ethan looked at her, not with hate, but with freedom. "I hope you find happiness someday," he said quietly. Then he walked past her, toward his future. The cameras chased him. The crowd followed him. The world wanted him. Vanessa stood alone in the spotlight that used to crown her. Some victories are won in the ring. Others are won when you finally walk away. Ethan didn't just win the fight. He won himself. And for the first time in years, he smiled.